This is the Podfic of Blood in the Water, Lights in the Deep by the ASHENMOON, read by Sunset Radio. This is Chapter 2, Leviathan. Leviathans are the largest category of merfolk and are considered the apex predator in most areas where they reside. Their typical range extends from the bathypelagic zone or midnight zone to the deepest of ocean trenches. By extension, these creatures are rarely observed and studies on their behavior are limited. Unlike reef mer, who possess human-like faces, leviathans lack any nose-like structure, have wider mouths, and their faces are generally described as appearing mask-like. Bioluminescence markings, generally observed in dot or stripe patterns, are vital in navigating the dark waters and are also hypothesized to play a role in mating rituals. They require frequent meals to support their large bodies and have been recorded hunting sharks, dolphins, large squid, and even small whales. Other merfolk, and even other leviathans that have been deemed as weak, are also an option if other food sources are not readily available. Unlike reef merfolk, leviathans are either solitary or travel in small bonded groups of several individuals. The mechanism by which some companions are selected is a matter of debate. Dr. C. Winter's Modern Studies in the Anatomy and Culture of Merfolk. Editor's note: I believe it is relevant to add that there have been no successful interactions of human to leviathan communication. Reef merfolk are often tolerant of human presence if sufficient rewards are offered, but the only recorded attempt of doing so which a leviathan resulted in the consumption of the head researcher, Dr. Winters. I know you're interested in these things, but please don't get any wild ideas. Almost half a minute passes before you blatantly realize that you are not, in fact, dying. Actually, the Leviathan isn't doing anything besides continuing to stare at you. His expression is kind of hard to read, but you hope that means he might consider not eating you on the spot. Your ear fins flick uncertainly as you glance between his face and the one remaining hook. It really does look like it hurts. I never did claim to be smart. Help you. It's been a while since you've actually spoken to anyone, and your voice rattles in your sore throat. You are immediately terrified when this results in the widest, toothiest grin you've ever seen spreading across the Leviathan's face. That's it. He's gonna eat you. Farewell, cruel world. Except he doesn't bite you. No, he just tilts his head at you in a way that is much too adorable for someone this deadly. Please don't eat me. Please, giant. You swallow, and against your better judgment decide to just get the damn job over with, since you've already come this far. To avoid losing your nerve, you fix your eyes on the hook instead of his face, and as gently as you can, you work that last remaining bit of metal out of him. It drops to the sand with a trail of swirling blood in its wake. and you take that opportunity to wriggle out from under the Leviathan's arm to dart back behind the nearest piece of wreckage. It's quiet, a little too quiet for your own comfort. Something of a soft gray color floats past you in the water, and you realize it's a strand of his hair. Once you look up and see him peeking down at you from atop the broken beams of wood, your heart nearly jumps out of your chest. God save me! Thank you, my dear. Oh. You probably should have assumed he could communicate, but apprehension has scrambled your mind to the point that it is still a surprise to you. A startled bubble escapes your mouth and floats up towards the surface, and the Leviathan above you retreats just a little. I'm sorry, my dear. I didn't mean to startle you. He's actually very polite. No one's ever called you my dear before. Is okay. Despite your inner wisdom telling you that this is a horrible idea, you lift yourself cautiously to the top of the wreckage. The Leviathan is floating just slightly above you, and you are once again impressed and intimidated by how huge he is. His ear fins are pressed back against his head, a universal sign of difference, and you realize he's trying to make himself less threatening to you. Whether or not this is a clever trick, you cannot say just yet. Why up there? I ascended to investigate something. This caught me by surprise. He tosses aside a scrap of netting with his very sharp-looking claws. You have claws too, but they seem rather pitiful in comparison to his. It was difficult for me to remove them, so you were very helpful, my dear. Helpful? Useful? I'm useful? He looks positively delighted by you pulling yourself from the wreckage completely. You earnestly spit out a quick, garbled series of words that you can only hope he understands. Help more. Bleeding. Treatment. Follow. His wounds don't appear to be all that severe now that the hooks are gone, but you have a sudden motivation to prove that you are indeed useful. Very useful. So useful that you shouldn't be eaten. He smiles pleasantly at you, and you lead him up towards the kelp forest, peering back behind you ever so often to make sure he's still following you. He is, very closely in fact. You wouldn't bring him to the reefs. His size would make that difficult, and you aren't so bitter that you'd offer your pod up as a potential meal. But letting him rest in the kelp should be fine. You know some basic injury care, so you can fix him up a bit before sending him on his way back to the trenches. Lords of the trenches. You cast another furtive glance backwards. God? Do gods bleed? Would a god call you my dear so sweetly? Does it matter? No, not really. You hadn't helped him because you thought he was a god or because you intended to gain any sort of blessing from it. It's just that if you ever find yourself in a similar situation, you hope that someone has enough heart to help you too. You know better than most how frightening it is to be hurt and alone. The ocean is not a merciful place. Setting aside the possibilities that you are having a hunger-induced hallucination of some divine being, you resolve yourself to finishing what you started. Aside from a single school of fish that quickly makes itself scarce, you don't see any signs of life on the way back. It seems having a Leviathan on your tail makes your poor company. Once you arrive at the forest, you dart easily into the kelp, only to grimace as the Leviathan's body tears away at the strands as he tries to follow you in. You have to swim around him in circles, detangling him as he goes so he doesn't rip up the kelp by the hold fast. Once you're far enough in to be reasonably hidden, you silently encourage the Leviathan to rest on the sand while you gather your supplies. He obliges you without complaint, happily watching you swim around with a tint of red on his cheeks. You can only hope it's because he's pleased at your continued usefulness and not because he thinks you look delicious. The standard treatment for fresh wounds here is a paste made up of various algae, which you spread generously atop each puncture before covering them each with tightly woven seaweed bandages. Once you get to the injury on his chest, you pause, wondering if perhaps it might be better to let him do this one himself, but he rolls over on his back obligingly and stares up at you with big, glossy eyes. You get the feeling he really, really wants you to do it. So down you go, practically perched atop his torso as you apply the soothing mixture. "What's your name, my dear?" You tell him absent-mindedly as you focus your attention on winding the seaweed bandages around his chest. He repeats it to himself in a whisper. It's a little odd hearing your name from someone else's lips. To be honest, if anyone bothers to speak to you, it's generally with some derogatory nickname befitting your status. Your name? You assume you probably won't meet him after today, but it's polite to ask. "Piero, my dear." As you do with all new words, you sound it out a few times to get down the feeling of it. P-R-O, P-R-O, P-R-O. Okay. You, clueless as you are, don't realize that each time you say it, he looks more and more smitten. Rest here now long. No food. You can barely feed yourself, so there's no way you can hunt something down that would satisfy him, and you'd prefer to remain uneaten yourself. Please don't stress yourself on my account, my dear. You've been very kind. Yes, I am kind. I am useful. First aid complete, you remove yourself from his personal bubble and allow yourself to sink down atop the sand a short distance from him. You use this opportunity to study his face. Despite the rather alarming size of his mouth, you find yourself once again thinking that he's kind of adorable. There's no hint of aggression at all, and he's beaming at you as if you are a gift from the goddess herself. It's to the point where you almost start to feel self-conscious. Small talk and indulging in your curiosity is the solution you settle on. From where? Deep? Dark? Thankfully, Piero doesn't seem to mind your broken manner of speech. You get the impression that he's thrilled that you're talking to him at all, actually. Maybe it's just your natural desire to please, but his smile gives you a sense of gratification. "Oh yes, I came up from the trench nearby." "There's a trench nearby?" You're far from an expert on these things, but you'd assumed that all the major trenches were found from further out from the reefs. If there's one here, how could you have lived here for so long without noticing it? More importantly, why had Piero come up here in the first place? Something isn't quite right here. Why? He smoothly evades your questioning. Nothing much, my dear. Just looking for something. You don't push it. He's in a good mood right now, and you're not about to try and change that. The darkness of night is growing deeper now, and little flecks of gold light shimmer between his scales like tiny stars. The sight of it mesmerizes you, and you unknowingly drift close to him again. You cannot stop staring, but you have no desire to look away, no desire to do anything but get closer, closer, closer. Pretty. You want to touch the lights. A distant call jolts you out from your thoughts. This is the authoritative song of your pod leader as he summons everyone back to the nest for the night. It's not as if you'll be particularly missed if you don't appear, but you need to return quickly before the nighttime predators begin their activities. As for Piero, you're sure he'll be fine. Nothing that lives around here is anywhere close to his size. Must go. Goodbye. You bob up and down in a friendly sort of farewell dance before darting away through the kelp fronds, missing the crestfallen expression of the Leviathan you're leaving behind. You also don't get to see the way he tenses up and digs his claws into the sand, resisting the effort to chase after you and snatch you up. You feel a little bad for the sudden nature of your departure, but it's probably better that you don't hang around any longer anyways. Piero seemed to be doing just fine. He returned to the depths, healthy and happy, and you'll probably never see him again. It'll make a nice memory, though. You enjoyed the soft way he looked at you, and you can almost convince yourself it wasn't because you looked like a tasty snack. You briefly stopped by the fish trap on your way back, but all that remains after the pod's feeding frenzy are little bits of bones. You pick up a couple of mostly intact skeletons anyways. At the very least, you can maybe scrape a little bone marrow out of it. With your pitiful spoils, you settle on the very edge of the nest, a hollow pit carved out in the sand. The high rankers get the best spots at the center, then the young ones and elders get the next pick. The most powerful hunters form a protective circle around them all. You, the outlier, are permitted to hang around the outer ring as long as you keep to yourself and don't push it too far. After scraping the fish bones of anything edible, you curl yourself into a contorted shape as you attempt to groom yourself. Scale care is typically a communal activity, but since you're only barely part of the community as it is, you can only clean your own scales and fins as best as you can manage. Some places are impossible for you to reach, so the scales are itchy and dull. The best you can do is rub yourself against the sand to try to ease the discomfort. A sharp growl sends you quivering into submission as one of the hunters circle past you. Settle down. Apparently, you'd been moving too much and caught his attention. You know better than to talk back, so you simply hold very, very still until he's lost interest and passes you by. You've seen what happens to intruders who trespass into your pod's territory, and you'd very much like to avoid receiving that same treatment. Sometimes you fantasize violently about teaching them a lesson. You daydream about a world where you are the strongest, the fiercest, with the most beautiful song. You would be feared, you would be adored, and all the greatest hunters would swarm around you for a privilege to clean your scales. A delusional fantasy, of course. But doesn't everyone have a wild dream from time to time? Tonight your fantasies include a new face, the face of a Leviathan, maybe a god, who you should be frightened of, but you can't help but hope of seeing again. It's highly unlikely, of course, but so are all your other secret desires. Adding one more to the pile doesn't hurt. My Lady of Currents, please bless me with restful sleep and good luck. To the lords of the trenches, I offer my dreams. May your favor carry me gently through the dark. It takes you a while to fall asleep, and when you do, youth's slumber is restless. The ocean is colder at night, and because you have no one to curl up with, your nights tend to be on the uncomfortable side. Still, you have to be grateful that you have a moderately safe place to rest. You hope Piero gets home safely. OMG, I'm so sorry for all the times that I froze up. I'm extremely dyslexic on occasion, and reading the larger words in this makes my brain stutter. I had to Google Translate a few of those words, and I was like, the heck are those? Also, I apologize for any background noises. My dog was shifting around, and the fridge was doing fridge noises. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. It was a bit rushed at the moment, but thank you all for listening. See you next time.